cord in, so this is a bit better. Excuse me. Just gotta grab a dongle from across the room because I've got that new MacBook Pro, so of course I am all about that dongle life. Gotta have a million different dongles for everything. Let's find. Look at this Ethernet cord. Maybe you can't see that. I have 100-foot long Ethernet cord. Because... Jesus, where's the end of it? There we go. There you are. Because my home office, which is a corner of my bedroom, is the complete opposite corner of the house from our router, so it's always just, like, a terrible connection. So whenever I try to do something like this, or even just, like, surf the web, it's a really, really bad connection. So I had to get an Ethernet cord that I can run from our router, which is here, all the way to the far corner of my bedroom, which is where my home office is. Now this Ethernet dongle was being weird the other day, but looks like it's working now. I hope so. If I go away, I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd do a Christmas Eve live stream. So hi, everyone. This is my tree. I thought I'd sit by the tree. I've also got my Santa mug. I'm drinking some Downton Abbey tea, and it's just full of lots of spices. It smells really good, but it's still a little hot, so we'll let that cool off. Liam, thank you for saying you like my hat. It is a YouTube hat. They gave us these hats after Global Creator Camp the first week. Immediately fell in love with them. A bunch of us were like wearing them all the day we got them, and we were all like walking around New York City wearing matching hats. They also gave us matching backpacks, so we were also carrying those around. We actually had to like devise a system when we went out to bars of stringing our jackets like through the straps of our backpacks, because all of our backpacks were identical and we didn't want to accidentally like steal someone's. I'm #1 on Christmas right now. If only that were like that Christmas is not one of the big trending tags. See, I could have been smart and chosen a trending holidays or Giftmas or LGBT, so someone coming to YouNow's homepage would just click on that. Whoa, Noah, you were giving me all kinds of 10+10s. Oh, and hi, John. But anyways, that was very silly of me to just choose this more obscure tag. You wouldn't think Christmas would be an obscure tag tonight, though. Oh, John, you're watching with your bro. Hi, Rook family. And thanks for the applause. MKL Storm, thanks for all the likes. Twice, you're giving 400 likes twice. Oh, you guys are wonderful. So actually, what? I don't know what you're saying. I'm organizing my socks right now. I just did laundry, and I gotta organize my socks. So I'm gonna chat while I organize my socks. Yeah, how's everyone's Christmas Eve going? If you celebrate, I wanna hear how all your Christmas Eves are, and what some of your Christmas Eves or Christmas traditions are where you're at. Also, look at these Christmas socks I got. I think this is the only Christmas socks that I own, but I really like them. They were like in the $1 bin at Target, and I was like, yes. Sheep at the live nativity at church. Wow. The church service I went to did not have a live nativity. But the Reverend did put on a Santa hat by surprise at the end of his sermon while quoting Tiny Tim, so that was nice. Lydia's Home Alone painting. I am Home Alone as well. What are you painting, Lydia? Or what kind of paint is it like? Watercolors, oil paints. Mason, also alone, but cake. Nice. I sort of have cake. Our landlord gave us this panettone cake, which is like an Italian thing I'm unfamiliar with. I haven't tried it yet. I think I might do that tonight after I have a proper dinner, which I have not done yet, because I've been doing laundry and other things. Lydia is painting acrylic on paper. Acrylics are fun. I have acrylic paints, but I usually paint my body with them, which is not smart because it's hard to get off of your body. Which is why I also have watercolor, or what is it called? Washable paints for when I paint my body. Ryland's wearing a lion onesie and hasn't talked to anyone today. That sounds like a pretty good life, Ryland. I think you're making good life choices. Oh, Noah, I hope your grandmother recovers well. Oof, that's scary. And Care has a bad back is out of commission. Oh, lots of unwell today. I'm sorry, everyone. Hopefully some Christmas magic will happen for you all. Noah says that they're exploring how their camera works. Is that a new camera? Did you just get it for Christmas? A lot of people are getting waffle irons for Christmas and sharing them with me on Twitter and stuff, and it's fun. I always love seeing all the people who get waffle irons for Christmas after having enjoyed my show Will It Waffle. It's just great. Spreading the good word of waffles. Oh, I've also got, I should plug these socks. These are some Books Turn Muggles into Wizards socks with all the house colors on them. If you would like these, you can get them at outofprint.com, and part of the proceeds supports the nonprofit I work for, the Harry Potter Alliance. So there's some socks. Kara's having waffles tomorrow. Heck yeah. Is it like a, is that a tradition that you guys always have waffles on Christmas? Because like Christmas mornings in my family and Thanksgiving mornings, like every holiday, like Easter too, we always had cinnamon rolls. Like we would have like a proper healthy breakfast as well, but my mom would always make those Pillsbury cinnamon rolls. So I bought some for myself that I'm going to eat tomorrow, and I'm excited. I'm actually not having waffles. You're waffling a shirt. Noah, you follow me on Twitter or somewhere, you gotta let me know how that goes, because I've thought about waffling shirts before. I'm sure it would work. Like, it depends what you mean by you're gonna waffle a shirt, but I've wanted to like mass produce t-shirts with like just waffle stains on them. So yeah, I want to know what you're doing and how it turns out. I'm very curious about that. Lane asks if I got myself any gifts. I bought a lot of food this weekend that I'm gonna enjoy. I am probably getting a new phone this week, which is kind of like a gift to myself, except that I've been saving up for it for a while, so it's like I'm not really splurging or anything. But I've needed a new phone for like over a year. My touchscreen doesn't really work. It's so slow. I can't wait for my content to be so much better when I get this new phone. Although, so this sort of feels like I got myself a gift. Also, hi, John's mom. So my dad, like, he is very into the Amazon wish list thing. And so for the past, like, 5 or so years, for Christmas, he makes us make him Amazon wish lists, and then he just picks a couple of things and, like, ships them right to you. He doesn't even pay the extra for, like, the gift wrapping on the gifts. So we literally get, I'll show you, like, this big box. I know what it is. It's a suitcase. I asked for a suitcase. It's from the company that sells the suitcases. My dad got me a suitcase for Christmas. But, like, I'm not opening it until tomorrow for Christmas. And sometimes, for smaller things that come in like that I'm like, this is from my dad. It's what he got me for Christmas, because it's exactly what I asked for. Sometimes I do wrap them for myself, just so I have something to open tomorrow. See, I even said to Jack from Santa. So, Santa came early to my house, apparently. Well, he's right here. This almost looks like a deconstructed Santa. Like, his hat is above him. Got a hat floating above him. I also have some other gifts. I have a couple of gifts from my mom, who does what I feel is a little bit more of a proper Christmas. I mean, do Christmas however you want. But my mom, like, kind of spends all year thinking about gifts that she'll give us, and then I have no idea what she got me. I mean, one of them feels like clothes, but she just got, like, random things, and she wraps them herself before she sends them. Anyways, enough about my gifts. Oh, thank you, Elaraya. That sounds like a very pretty name. I don't know how to say it. Zoe's getting some HPA merch for Christmas. Nice. How do you know? Did you get it for yourself? I think that's rad that you're getting HPA merch. But whenever people say, like, I'm getting X for Christmas, I'm like, does your family do gifts the way my dad does, so you know exactly what you're getting? Mason, I was monkey bread. Monkey bread is delicious. I've been in a carb mood today. I could totally go for some monkey bread right now. Lydia's mom literally used their Amazon Prime account. So you know exactly what you're getting. That's funny. Noah, yeah, go do that T-shot. Mine was a week late this past week because pharmacy stuff. Always pharmacy stuff. It's like, the way I have it going with my insurance right now is I have to pick it up once a month, and it's always like the day I have to do my shot if I'm lucky or it's late, so I'm always late on my T-shot right now. It's annoying. Oh, no, other Noah. There's a couple Noahs in the chat. But this Noah's brother got him the Noble Quidditch box. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds cool. Oh, I'm not making great progress on these socks. I just keep finding all the odd ones. Whoa, Lane's a month and a half on tea today. Congrats. Has your voice started cracking yet? I was with a kid at the Yule Ball who had just started tea recently, and his voice cracked for the first time while we were talking. He was very embarrassed. It was adorable. My voice cracked for the first time while I was giving a lecture at a school, so that was fun. At least it's not that bad. MKL Storm, hoping for a binder. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to be in that position with parents. I think, looking into binder giveaways that people do, Point of Pride is an organization that does binder scholarships and stuff, and usually anyone who's doing something like that is really happy to, I mean, one, it's going to be free if you're in need, and they're totally happy to, like, ship to a friend's address or just make it totally discreet, so there are ways to get around it. Then you just have the obstacle of, like, your parents noticing if you're wearing a binder, and that could be a problem, so you have to weigh all those balances, but I at least like people to know about options to secure them discreetly and freely. Lane's not down around their extended family who has to disguise their voice. Well, you're still early enough that you can just say you have a cold. Everyone has a cold right now. Everyone's sick right now. I said I was going to be telling Christmas stories. So, I'm glad you heard about that in my Q&A. I'm glad it was helpful. Good. Anyways, I said I was going to be telling Christmas stories. I thought I would just share some of the things that my family does, or did in the past, like growing up. And my family did growing up for Christmas and Christmas Eve, and hopefully you'll all tell me some of yours too. And then I might tell you some other Christmas stories, some more traditional ones. We'll see. Let's see. Listen, Kay, I'm not gonna say things very well this whole time. Thank you for the applause at Hose Hippo and MKL Storm. Let's see. Well, so the biggest on my mind right now, as it is Christmas Eve, there's a couple of things we always did on Christmas Eve growing up. Thanks for the applause, Kay. First of all is that my dad would always read us 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, like right before bed. We had this one copy. I think I have this copy of the book now, but it's like a really old, just like paperback copy with these really cool looking illustrations. And at some point when we were toddlers, my brother and I apparently drew all over it because there's just like drawings on every page. But I love that copy of the book. And so my dad would always read it to us, and he like kept that up, like as we were in high school. And even now, like, it could interrupt this live stream at any point. He's either going to call or text me. Like, he'll call me and he'll read it out. Oh, Charlie, thank you for the 1,000 bars. You rock. He'll either call me and, like, read the whole thing, and I just sit here like I'm 27, but okay, keep going. Or he'll literally copy and paste the entire text of the story of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas and text it to me. So that might happen tonight. But before we would settle down and he would read us 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, we had another tradition that I guess would have started in the mid-90s. I'm not positive. Sometime in the mid-90s. Every Christmas Eve, my family would sit down and watch Tim Allen's The Santa Claus, which I'm going to do tonight after this live stream. I realized I own it on DVD, which I didn't think I did, but I must have stolen it from one of my parents at some point. I'm getting a text, but my phone's across the room somewhere. So I'm gonna be watching the Santa Claus later. Any of you have like movies that you always watch Christmas Eve? I know that's kind of a thing. Or like some families will do like you can open one of your gifts on Christmas Eve, or all of your gifts. Some families open all of their gifts on Christmas Eve. That seems weird to me. Like, I don't know. Then what do you do on Christmas morning? Church? Church is for Christmas Eve. That's when you go to church. Midnight Mass, Christmas Eve. I don't know. I'm hardcore judging other people's traditions right now, by the way. I'm not, like, really judging them. I'm being a jackass, really. Lane's parents give some pajamas every year. My friend's family does that. Alex, thank you for the bars. You are very cool. And now you're the #1 fan. Yeah, my friend's mom, if any of you know the Potter Puppet Pals, Alora from the Potter Puppet Pals, her mom gives everyone pajamas every year and usually makes them like a theme. So there was one year that I was almost there, and they were doing superhero themed. And so she was trying to guilt me into like joining them for Christmas by saying that I could get Captain America pajamas. And I was like, ooh, tempting. That is tempting. But I have spent Christmas there before, and I can't remember what pajamas I got. Or if I did, maybe they didn't do it that year. Couple of people go to midnight mass. Yep, I usually go to midnight mass. I'm not actually Catholic, but like my mom and her whole side of the family is Catholic. So we often go to midnight mass. Or the church I was raised in does like morning Christmas Eve candlelight service things. And so, you know, we would do that if we didn't do mass. I like going to mass when I go home to my mom's though, because my mom lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and there's this huge old cathedral, St. Francis Cathedral, like right in the heart of downtown Santa Fe. And it's really cool to go to mass there. Like, no matter what you believe, it's like a really fun experience. And last year, it started snowing during mass, and it was just a cool white Christmas like thing. Going to 4 masses in 24 hours. That's maybe a little much. my attention span, my limited attention span is like already scared of that. Charlie eats chili. Why is eating chili weird if you live in Florida? I grew up in Texas, so chili's just like normal to me. But is it because it's hot in Florida? Explain this one to me, Charlie. Let's see. Kay's family does a game for Christmas Eve presents. So like each person gets a new game. You must have a lot of games in your family. My family didn't like games. I was the only one who ever wanted to play like card games and board games. Is it Atho's ship? Is that how you say it? I keep thinking it says Atho's hippo, but there's no O at the end, is there? But yeah, my parents are divorced too. And they both live in the South, so I can't usually afford to go home, which is why I'm in New York City at my home this year. Christmas mornings for latkes and Chinese food. Kevin, are you Jewish? If you're not Jewish, that's also cool that you enjoy latkes and Chinese food. Whoa, Aristotle just gave me 1,000 bars. Back from the dead. Mason watches the old claymation Christmas movies like Rudolph and Jack Frost. What? That company is called something. It's not Procter & Gamble, but the company that makes those claymation. I love all of those claymation things. In fact, today I started reading, and hopefully we'll finish today, L. Frank Baum's The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, which was more popularized by one of those claymation movies, the one that's like about Santa Claus growing up, that's based on L. Frank Baum's The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. And you might recognize the name L. Frank Baum because that is the guy who wrote all of the Wizard of Oz books. And I say all of them because Wizard of Oz is not just one book. There's actually 14 Oz books original ones written by L. Frank Baum, but then there's an entire extended universe written by like tons and tons and tons of authors all around the world. It's wild. Okay, hold on. I gotta scroll back up. Everyone was sharing lots of things, and then I asked questions, and now I gotta try to find the answers. Okay, I'm going back up. Carson watches Love Actually every year. My friends and I watched that on Friday. I like it. I think I like it more every time I watch it. I haven't watched it enough to be saturated yet, so now, like, I don't know. I just enjoy it more every time I watch it. Oh, Lydia! You are cool. Lydia watches The Muppet Christmas Carol. That is my favorite holiday movie. It is my favorite adaptation of Christmas Carol. I'm just a big Muppet fan. But yes, love Muppet Christmas Carol. I already watched it this year while I was working on my holiday cards. Let's see. Oh, no, I'm sorry you have to work tomorrow. Ooh, folk group at your church, Alex. That sounds fun. Be in a folk group. I haven't really heard of churches having folk groups. That sounds cool. Let's see. This tea is the perfect temperature right now. Oh, okay, I understand now. You don't all get 4 games every year. You do a game to distribute them. That makes way more sense. Let's see. Ooh, Aristotle just saw a live production of Christmas Carol, their local equity theater. I bet that's fun. I haven't seen it live too. I've maybe seen it once or twice live. Not too much though. Athos Hip. Their name is such because they played Athos in a production of Three Musketeers at a place called the Hippodrome. Like the Hippodrome? Because I feel like I've heard of that. Mason says the eyebrows look out of place. Alright, I'll hold it closer. Do they still look out of place? He's just like a happy, smiling Santa. Like, he just has, like, real bold eyebrows, you know? It's, like, really statement eyebrows there. Noah started watching Downton Abbey today. It's so good. I love Downton Abbey. I am drinking Downton Abbey Christmas tea, and later this week, I'm going to go to the Downton Abbey exhibition in Manhattan, which I'm so stoked for. I was going to go today, but then I got kind of busy, so I didn't go. Also, it's cheaper during the week. Downton Abbey is great. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's more people's cup of tea than you would realize. I think a lot of people are like, oh, like boring English stuffy period piece about like upstairs and downstairs. Like, why would I care? But it's pretty high drama. I mean, it was a worldwide phenomenon for a reason. Like, you can really get into it. So I highly suggest Downton Abbey to everyone. If you didn't already hear enough from me about Downton Abbey from the collab I did on Megan Tonjes's channel. And I still, for anyone who did watch that, by the way, I still haven't remembered what my favorite TV show is. Like, there's a show, it's at the front of my brain, and I remember thinking, like, this is my favorite TV show of all time. Still don't know. Still don't remember what it was. Whoa. Hey, Kevin Saunders. Wow. We should, man, we don't live anywhere close to each other anymore, but that would be cool to hang out one day, like in real life, not on Instagram or Twitter or you now. I hope you're doing well. Merry Christmas to your whole family. Oh, Austin's where you're at now. Okay. Yeah, I should go to Austin. I've got friends from Austin who are in the city right now, actually, which is fun. Other, like, nearly lifelong friends of mine who are here. It's kind of nice. Right. Oh! I had a thing to show you all. For anyone who watched the most recent episode of Will It Waffle, I posted yesterday. If you haven't watched it yet, I waffled candy canes, and it was wild. So you should go check that out. YouTube.com/JackIsNotABird. You could probably just search Will It Waffle, except BuzzFeed's videos might come up. Whatever. I waffled candy canes. And they melted and boiled and looked like brains. And it, I got it all off of my waffle iron. I, like, posted on my Instagram story of, like, my pristine, clean waffle iron. It's great. It came off better than I thought, because you just let it dry and then crack it off. But it cracked off into a lot of different pieces, which took a long time to sweep up, because it's all sticky. But I wanted to share with you, this is the biggest piece that I was able to get off. So this is waffled candy cane. It's all pink, because red and white make pink. But yeah, the back doesn't look as pretty. That's like the part that was on top and like bubbling up. And so it dried in the bubbles. But the bottom looks awesome. It's like a little peppermint candy. I don't know. Anarchist Owl. That is distressing when I hear that people didn't get notifications or see the video in their sub boxes. I mean, I can't do anything about that. It just makes me sad, because that means people are missing videos that they specifically said they wanted to see. As in, like, told YouTube they wanted notifications. Okay, yeah, it is a very solid shape. It does still taste like mint, Megan. Also, hi, Megan. Hey. Yeah, it might be a little duller, but that could be just because it was sitting out all night. Ow, that's a sharp edge. Yikes. Jake's the Human. Is it Jake's or Jax? My mom calls me Jax. I think non-binary people are awesome, and they exist, and their identities are valid. I think they're people who deserve to be respected. That's what I think. Ooh. Oh, it has like an aftertaste of peppermint. Bled to death due to waffled candy canes. I'm not gonna bleed to death. I hope not. Yeah. I don't think my tongue is bleeding. Alright. So, wait, I'm checking my Twitter real quick. Okay, cool. Oh, that's why people are talking about bells. I was like, what bell did I press? You hit the bell, ring the bell, as YouTube would like you to say, on someone's YouTube channel on YouTube to get push notifications. That's how you get push notifications. Sometimes you get push notifications even if you didn't ring the bell, and that's YouTube's algorithm being like, you've watched videos from this person lately. Maybe you would like to see more videos from them. But you definitely get them if you ring the bell. But apparently sometimes it malfunctions. I don't know, it was actually like at a presentation, I guess you could say, with YouTube recently, and it was a guy telling us like all this sort of analytic stuff, and we were grilling him kind of hard on like, what about when videos don't show up in sub boxes? What about when people don't get notifications? And he was basically just saying like they should. He was saying sometimes people don't realize, like, you do have to ring that bell, so definitely make sure you hit the bell. He also said sometimes people don't realize that, like, the home screen is not the same as their subscription box feed, so that's another thing to look out for. Like, your home screen is, again, that kind of algorithm recommended stuff, which can sometimes look a lot like your subscription feed, but it's not. You gotta hit on the sidebar to hit subscription feed. And short of that, his only other response was, like, sometimes there's a bug, and it just happens. Like with this video, I think, and let me know anyone who did get a push notification on it. A lot of people said that it still had my file name in the title, so the notification just said Candy Canes, like all lowercase, one word, instead of the properly written out Will Candy Canes Waffle, which was the ultimate title. So, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, weird glitches like that happen sometimes. Let's see. Lane, that is totally cool if you're doing a one-word-a-day poem like I did. I think that's really rad. Yeah, please do give me credit, and mostly because I want to see it. So, like, tag me or something so I can see it when it comes out. It's a really fun thing to do. I think someone else a while back mentioned that they might have been doing it. I don't know if they finished. But it's a fun exercise. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, if you go on my YouTube channel and search for, I think I just called it 365, like 1 word a day on testosterone or first year of testosterone or something. I basically wrote a 365-word poem and then filmed myself saying 1 word of it every single day for my first year of taking testosterone. And then I cut it all together, and it was really fun. A lot of people do really creative things to mark like that first year or first several years on T, and I just thought it'd be a fun thing. And I took it from someone else too. He's not trans, but it's a guy who like started January 1st and went the whole year. And his was pretty cool without any like major physical changes. So I was like, oh, it'd be even better to do a trans version. And I really liked it. Yeah, a lot of people are saying you want to do it when you start T. Totally do. And please share it with me. I'd love to see how everyone else did it. Hopefully you learn from my mistakes. Like, I can give you some tips right now. Number 1, don't just say 1 word. And I anticipated this in terms of, like, wanting backup footage, so I would say a couple of words each day just in case I needed to kind of mix things around. But the thing that I didn't think about was when you just say, like, 1 word by itself, it doesn't edit very smoothly. So you should really just say a whole line in a sentence, and then, like, the rhythm and everything will sound better. And if you watch my video, you can tell, like, the last 1/5 of the video is when I finally figured that out, and it's a much smoother video. It doesn't suck as much to listen to. That is the biggest tip, I would say. I mean, the other thing is just a matter of being disciplined in doing it every day, being organized in how you do your files. I would recommend start editing it way before the end of the year, like edit as you go. And yeah, think ahead a little bit if you're going to go on any cool trips with cool places to have in the background. Definitely better to write the poem completely before you start, which I meant to do but never did, so I was writing it a little as I went, which is kind of cool because it can reflect how you change, but it's way less stress if you just write it all before. So, yep, alright, going back a few minutes, a couple of people said they did just get candy canes, the notification, which I had saved the title by that point, so I don't know why it happened, but yeah. Alright, so I've been doing this for a half hour. I'm gonna keep going. This isn't me saying that I'm gonna be done. But I'm gonna do something that some of you might not be interested in, and maybe you want to leave. But I feel like doing it. It's my you now. I'm gonna do what I want. Excuse me. Oh, before I do, Noah asked how my socks are. My socks are great. They're all done. I didn't really have any more exciting ones to show you. Yeah, there weren't many exciting socks this week. I showed you all the exciting ones. But the socks are done, which is good. All of my laundry is now folded. I just have to put some more of it away, like these socks. So anyway, here's what I'm going to do now. And if a bunch of you leave, that's fine. So throughout, like, high school, mostly just high school, I thought it would be fun every Christmas Eve to read the entirety of A Christmas Carol, which is not that absurd. It is a novella. And I haven't done that in a few years, which I realized when I realized today that I don't own a physical copy of it. I think I recently gave it away when I had to move a lot of my books across the country, so I need to get a cool new copy of that. But I got it from the library on Kindle, and so I thought I would just read, like, maybe the first stave of it. That's how it's divided, by staves, right? So I'm going to read to you Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, which is my favorite Christmas story. I love A Christmas Carol. And I mean, I got interested in it through the Muppets. Let's be real here. I just love the Muppets. I thought A Muppet Christmas Carol was my favorite Muppet movie. And so then when I was a little bit older, I got into A Christmas Carol. Oh, this version is weird. But yeah. The other thing I want to say about A Christmas Carol is, in our, like, what is it called? Cultural literacy? Sort of like common knowledge. When someone refers to someone as a Scrooge, it absolutely means, like, you don't like Christmas, you're selfish, you're just kind of a grump. Kind of like calling someone a Grinch. But I think in both the case of the Grinch and of Scrooge, people forget about the ultimate transformation, where they become, like, one of the most giving, kind-hearted people. And I don't know, it's not completely like a Frankenstein versus Frankenstein's monster kind of thing, but it is a little bit. Like, I think Scrooge has gotten a bad rap since he ultimately became a really great guy. And, we get to look at his past. It's a little bit of an origin story thing, and we realize there are a lot of reasons why he became, like, the man that he was for those years when he was curmudgeonly and selfish. Let me just catch up on some of your chat things. I'm probably not going to see the chat as much while I'm reading. I'm be reading. And like I said, I haven't read it for a few years, so I don't have it memorized. Oh, well, your dad's been reading it about 15 pages a year and you haven't finished. That's kind of nice. I love it. All right, have some tea. And we'll read at least stave 1. I might pause here and there to check the chat, or take a sip of my Downton Abbey Christmas tea, or maybe share some commentary. This version that I got on Kindle has some illustrations. It said original illustrations, but, like, original to which I don't know. The publication history was a little weird. All right. I'm also a bit congested, so I apologize. Stave 1. Marley's Ghost. I'm going to scoot you closer so I can lean back. All right. Well, we got to get the Christmas tree in the shot. All right. Marley was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was dead as a doornail. Mind, I don't mean to say that I know of my own knowledge what there is particularly dead about a doornail. I might have been inclined myself to regard a coffin nail as the deadest piece of ironmongery in the trade. But the wisdom of our ancestors is in the simile, and the hallowed hands shall not disturb it, or the country's done for. You will therefore permit me to repeat emphatically that Marley was dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead? Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary legatee, his sole friend, and his sole mourner. And even Scrooge was not so dreadfully cut up by the sad event, but that he was an excellent man of business on the very day of the funeral, and solemnized it with an undoubted bargain. The mention of Marley's funeral brings me back to the point that I started from. There is no doubt that Marley was dead. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I'm going to relate. If we were not perfectly convinced that Hamlet's father died before the play began, there would be nothing more remarkable in his taking a stroll at night in an easterly wind upon his own ramparts than there would be in any other middle-aged gentleman rashly turning out after dark in a breezy spot. Say, St. Paul's churchyard, for instance, literally to astonish his son's weak mind. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood, years afterwards, above the warehouse door, Scrooge and Marley. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge Scrooge, and sometimes Marley, but he answered to both names. It was all the same to him. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire, secret and self-contained, and solitary as an oyster. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. A frosty rime was on his head, and his eyebrows and his wiry chin. He carried his own low temperature always about him. He iced his office in the dog days, and didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas. External heat and cold had little influence on Scrooge, No warmth could warm, no wintry weather chill him. No wind that blew was bitterer than he. No falling snow was more intent upon its purpose, no pelting rain less open to entreaty. Foul weather didn't know where to have him. The heaviest rain and snow and hail and sleet could boast of the advantage over him in only one respect. They often came down handsomely, and Scrooge never did. Nobody ever stopped him in the street to say, with gladsome looks, "My dear Scrooge, how are you? When will you come to see me?" No beggars implored him to bestow a trifle. No children asked him what it was o'clock. No man or woman ever once in all his life inquired the way to such and such a place of Scrooge. Even the blind men's dogs appeared to know him, and when they saw him coming on, would tug their owners in doorways and up courts, and then would wag their tails as though they said, "No eye at all is better than an evil-eyed dark master." But what did Scrooge care? It was the very thing he liked. To edge his way along the crowded paths of life, warning all human sympathy to keep its distance, was what the knowing ones call nuts to Scrooge. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather, foggy withal, and he could hear the people in the court outside go wheezing up and down, beating their hands upon their breasts and stamping their feet upon the pavement stones to warn them. The city clocks had only just gone 3, but it was quite dark already, had not been light all day, and candles were flaring in the windows of the neighboring offices like ruddy smears upon the palpable brown air. The fog came pouring in at every chink and keyhole, and was so dense without that, although the court was of the narrowest, the houses opposite were mere phantoms. To see the dingy cloud come drooping down, obscuring everything, one might have thought that nature lived hard by and was brewing on a large scale. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open, that he might keep his eye upon his clerk, who in a dismal little cell beyond a sort of tank was copying letters. Scrooge had a very small fire, but the clerk's fire was so very much smaller that it looked like one coal. But he couldn't replenish it, for Scrooge kept the coal box in his own room, and so surely as the clerk came in with the shovel, the master predicted that it would be necessary for them to part. Wherefore the clerk put on his white comforter and tried to warm himself at the candle, in which effort, not being a man of strong imagination, he failed. "A Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!" cried a cheerful voice. It was the voice of Scrooge's nephew, who came upon him so quickly that this was the first intimation he had of his approach. "Bah!" said Scrooge. "Humbug!" He had so heated himself with rapid walking in the fog and frost, this nephew of Scrooge's, that he was all in a glow. His face was ruddy and handsome, his eyes sparkled, and his breath smoked again. "Christmas a humbug, Uncle," said Scrooge's nephew. "You don't mean that, I'm sure." "I do," said Scrooge. "Merry Christmas! And what right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough." "Come then," returned the nephew gaily. "What right do you have to be dismal? What reason you have to be morose? You're rich enough." Scrooge, having no better answer ready on the spur of the moment, said "Bah!" again, and followed it up with "Humbug." "Don't be cross, Uncle," said the nephew. "What else can I be?" returned the uncle, "when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas! Out upon Merry Christmas! What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money, a time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer, a time for balancing your books and having every item in them through around a dozen of months presented dead against you? If I could work my will," said Scrooge indignantly, "every idiot who goes about with a Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding, and buried with a stake of holly through his heart, he should." "Uncle!" pleaded the nephew. "Nephew," returned the uncle sternly, "keep Christmas in your own way, and let me keep it in mine." "Keep it," repeated Scrooge's nephew, "but you don't keep it." "Let me leave it alone, then," said Scrooge. "Much good may it do you, much good it has ever done you." "There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited, I dare say," returned the nephew. "Christmas among the rest. But I am sure I have always thought of Christmas time, when it has come round, apart from the veneration due to its sacred name and origin, if anything belonging to it can be apart from that, as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open up their shut-up hearts freely, and to think of people below them as if they were really fellow passengers to the grave, and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good and will do me good, and I say, God bless it." The clerk in the tank involuntarily applauded. Becoming immediately sensible of the impropriety, he poked the fire and extinguished the last frail spark forever. "Let me hear another sound from you," said Scrooge, "and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. You're quite a powerful speaker, sir," he added, turning to his nephew. "I wonder if you don't go into Parliament." "Don't be angry, uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow." Scrooge said that he would see him. Yes, indeed he did. He went the whole length of the expression, and said that he would see him in that extremity first. "But why?" cried Scrooge's nephew. "Why?" "Why did you get married?" said Scrooge. "Because I fell in love." "Because you fell in love," growled Scrooge, as if that were the only thing in the world more ridiculous than a Merry Christmas. "Good afternoon." "Nay, uncle, but you never came to see me before that happened. Why give it a reason as for not coming now?" "Good afternoon," said Scrooge. "I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?" "Good afternoon," said Scrooge. "I am sorry, with all my heart, to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party, but I have made the trial in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So a Merry Christmas, uncle." "Good afternoon," said Scrooge. "And a Happy New Year." "Good afternoon," said Scrooge. His nephew left the room without an angry word, notwithstanding. He stopped at the outer door to bestow the greetings of the season on the clerk, who, cold as he was warmer than Scrooge, for he returned them cordially. "There's another fellow," muttered Scrooge, who overheard him. "My clerk, with 15 shillings a week and a wife and family, talking about a Merry Christmas. I'll retire to Bedlam." This lunatic, in letting Scrooge's nephew out, had let 2 other people in. They were portly gentlemen, pleasant to behold, and now stood with their hats off in Scrooge's office. They had books and papers in their hands and bowed to him. "Scrooge and Marley's, I believe," said one of the gentlemen, referring to his list. "Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?" "Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years," Scrooge replied. "He died 7 years ago this very night." "We have no doubt his liberality is well represented by his surviving partner," said the gentleman, presenting his credentials. "Oh, look, there's a picture of him. This is the first picture since the start of the chapter. Ah, it certainly was, for they had been 2 kindred spirits. At the ominous word, liberality, Scrooge frowned and shook his head, and handed the credentials back. "At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge," said the gentleman, taking up a pen, "it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute, who suffer greatly at the present time. Many thousands are in want of common necessaries. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comforts, sir." "Are there no prisons?" asked Scrooge. "Plenty of prisons," said the gentleman, laying down the pen again. "And the Union workhouses?" demanded Scrooge. "Are they still in operation?" "They are, still," returned the gentleman. "I wish I could say they were not." "The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor, then," said Scrooge. "Both very busy, sir." "Oh, I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course," said Scrooge. "I'm very glad to hear it." "Under the impression that they scarcely furnish Christian cheer of mind or body to the multitude," returned the gentleman, "a few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We chose this time because it is a time of all others when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?" "Nothing," said Scrooge. "You wish to be anonymous?" "I wish to be left alone," said Scrooge. "Since you ask me what I wish, gentlemen, that is my answer. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and can't afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the establishments I have mentioned. They cost enough, and those who are badly off must go there." "Many can't go there, and many would rather die." "If they would rather die," said Scrooge, "then they had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, excuse me, I don't know that." "But you might know it," observed the gentleman. "It's not my business," Scrooge returned. "It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, gentlemen." Seeing clearly that it would be useless to pursue their point, the gentlemen withdrew. Scrooge resumed his labors with an improved opinion of himself and a more facetious temper than was usual with him. Meanwhile, the fog and darkness thickened so that people ran about with flaring links, proffering their services to go before horses and carriages and conduct them on their way. The ancient tower of a church, whose gruff old bell was always peeping slyly down at Scrooge out of a Gothic window in the wall, became invisible, and struck the hours and quarters in the clouds with tremulous vibrations afterwards, as if its teeth were chattering in its frozen head up there. The cold became intense. In the main street, at the corner of the court, some laborers were repairing the gas pipes, and had lighted a great fire in a brazier, round which a party of ragged men and boys were gathered, warming their hands and winking their eyes before the blaze in rapture. The water plug being left in solitude, its overflowing suddenly congealed, and turned to misanthropic ice. The brightness of the shops, where holly sprigs and berries crackled in the lamp heat of the windows, made pale faces ruddy as they passed. Poulterers' and grocers' trades became a splendid joke, a glorious pageant with which it was next to impossible to believe that such dull principles as bargain and sale had anything to do with it. The Lord Mayor, in the stronghold of the mighty mansion house, gave orders to his 50 cooks and butlers to keep Christmas as a Lord Mayor's household should, and even the little tailor, whom he had fined 5 shillings on the previous Monday for being drunk and bloodthirsty in the streets, stirred up tomorrow's pudding in his garret, while his lean wife and the baby sallied out to buy the beef. Foggier yet and colder, piercing, searching, biting cold. If the good St. Dunstan had but nipped the evil spirit's nose with a touch such weather as that, instead of using his familiar weapons, then indeed he would have roared to lusty purpose. The owner of one scant young nose, gnawed and mumbled by the hungering cold and bones, or gnawed by dogs, stooped down at Scrooge's keyhole to regale him with a Christmas carol. But at the first sound of "God bless you, merry gentlemen, may nothing you dismay," Scrooge seized the ruler with such energy of action that the singer fled in terror, leaving the keyhole to the fog and even more congenial frost. At length, the hour of shutting up the counting-house arrived. With an ill will, Scrooge dismounted from his stool and tacitly admitted to the fact to the expectant clerk in the tank, who instantly snuffed his candle out and put on his hat. "You'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose," said Scrooge. "If quite convenient, sir." "It's not convenient," said Scrooge, "and it's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound." The clerk smiled faintly. "And yet," said Scrooge, "you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work?" The clerk observed that it was only once a year. "A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December," said Scrooge, buttoning his great coat to the chin. "But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier the next morning." The clerk promised that he would, and Scrooge walked out with a growl. The office was closed in a twinkling, and the clerk, with the long ends of his white comforter dangling below his waist, for he boasted no great coat, went down on a slide on Cornhill, at the end of a lane of boys, 20 times in honor of its being Christmas Eve, and then ran home to Camden Town as hard as he could pelt, to play at the blind man's buff. Scrooge took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book, went home to bed. He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner. They were a gloomy suite of rooms, in a lowering pile of building up a yard where it had so little business to be that one could scarcely help fancying it must have run there when it was a young house, playing at hide-and-seek with other houses, and had forgotten the way out again. It was old enough now, and dreary enough, for nobody lived in it but Scrooge, the other rooms being all let out as offices. The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, was fain to grope with his hands. The fog and frost so hung about the black old gateway of the house that it seemed as if the genius of the weather sat in mournful meditation on the threshold. Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large. It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen it, night and morning, during his whole residence in that place. Also, that Scrooge had as little of what is called fancy about him as any man in the city of London, even including, which is a bold word, the corporation, alderman, and livery. Let it also be borne in mind that Scrooge had not bestowed one thought on Marley since his last mention of his 7 years dead partner that afternoon. And then let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker, without its undergoing any intermediate process of change, not a knocker, but Marley's face. Marley's face! And it was not an impenetrable shadow as the other objects in the yard were, but had a dismal light about it, like a bad lobster in a dark cellar. It was not angry or ferocious, but looked at Scrooge as Marley used to look, with ghostly spectacles turned up on its ghostly forehead. The hair was curiously stirred, as if by breath or hot air, and though the eyes were wide open, they were perfectly motionless. That and its livid color made it horrible, but his horror seemed to be in spite of the face and beyond its control, rather than a part of its own expression. As Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. To say that he was not startled, or that his blood was not conscious of a terrible sensation to which it had been a stranger from infancy, would be untrue. But he put his hand upon the key he had relinquished, turned it sturdily, walked in, and lighted his candle. He did pause, with a moment's irresolution, before he shut the door, and he did look cautiously behind it first, as if he half expected to be terrified with the sight of Marley's pigtails sticking out into the hall. But there was nothing on the back of the door, except the screws and nuts that held the knocker on, and so he said pooh-pooh and closed it with a bang. Alright, I think I am going to stop there for now. Thank you for the bars, Dakota, and anyone else who might have given bars while I was reading. I'm a little congested and can't breathe through my nose, so, yeah, I'd love to keep going for those of you who are enjoying it, but I'm afraid I'm a bit out of breath. So, thank you for those of you who stuck around and enjoyed it. Also talking about some of the other adaptations in the chat here. I've thought about watching the Mickey Mouse version tonight. That's a good one, too. I haven't seen the Jim Carrey one, but I was reading about it this afternoon. It's apparently decent. It ranked pretty high in a ranking of all of the Christmas Carol adaptations. Let's see. Is there anything else that I should share or talk about before I go? Anything you guys want to talk about? It's Christmas Eve. So magical and exciting. In 12 hours, we'll all be up for Christmas. Excuse me. I'm just gonna retweet this person, and then that's gonna make a bunch of people come here. I'm retweeting Charlie saying that I'm reading A Christmas Carol. And that's gonna make a bunch of people come here, and I'm not gonna be reading it anymore. Dakota, your school puts on the play every year. That's kind of cool. Although I wonder if the students, like, in the theater department ever get tired of it. It's Christmas morning already where our anarchist owl is. Tiny Tim was one of my favorite characters, like, in fiction growing up. I always liked Tiny Tim. Oh, interesting. Dakota says a lot of people go back to their high school to be in the play as adults. That is interesting indeed. I guess I will wrap up soon. I'm at 58 minutes, so I kind of just want to hit, like, exactly midnight, you know? Athos hip, it might be 4:30 a.m. in 12 hours for you, but it'll be 7 a.m. for me, so I might be awake. Time zones. Do you think it'd be weirder if everyone around the world was at the same time? Like, I don't know. I've never really thought about that before, about, like, what the world might be like. Huh. Midnight. It's not, maybe you're talking to someone else in the chat. It's 7 p.m. for me right now. Feels so much later, though, because it gets dark so early. Ugh. I don't really like how early it gets dark in the winter up north. This Down Abbey tea is pretty good. Pretty good stuff. I'm literally just counting down until it gets to an hour, because I feel like that's just a good stopping place. So, we've got, like, 46 seconds. If you have anything else to say in the last 46 seconds, let's do I have anything else to say? Hopefully there'll be a new video on Wednesday. We'll try. I know I've been putting out videos at weird days, just because I'm trying to, like, get them out. But yeah, It might be my favorite books I read this year, or I might do something else. I had another idea that I might do. Um, Everyone's talking about the different time zones in the U.S. I mean, yeah, you can be in the same state and be in different time zones. I think part of the Upper Peninsula in Michigan is in a different time zone than the rest of it. There's not too many states that are in different time zones. Like a small part of Texas might be mountain time, but the rest is central. Um, yeah, Indiana and Arizona like don't even celebrate or don't practice daylight savings, so they're always all over the place. Apparently, Boston and like other parts of New England have been wanting to be on Atlantic time, which I didn't know was a thing, but basically they'd be an hour ahead of Eastern time, which is like what I am in New York City. Um, but New York refuses to change time zones, and Boston feels like New York has to change if they change. But I guess for like years, Boston's been trying to change to Atlantic time, which would be wild. So then there'd be Pacific Mountain Central East. So there'd be 5 different time zones in the United States, not in the continental United States. Yeah, it's. Oh yeah, it's been more than an hour and I'm still here. Oh no, I got distracted because the whole time zone conversation was intriguing to me. All right, I need to uncongest my nose now. So I'm gonna go, but thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed my reading of A Christmas Carol. We'll do it again next year. It'll be great. You should go. I'm sure there's like free PDFs online somewhere, so you should finish reading it yourself if you like it. It's a great story. You could also read The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum, which is the other thing I will be reading tonight and tomorrow. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas. If you don't celebrate, I hope you just have a nice, relaxing day tomorrow. Or if you have to work, then I'm sorry, and hopefully work isn't that bad. Hopefully it's a good day at work. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful time. I'm gonna go have a wonderful night. You've all made my day a little bit more merry. I hope I have as well. All right. Good night, everyone. Oh, it's not done yet. All right, bye.